So this is Melanie White from Downsize Me, and I'm really pleased to be interviewing Kristine Gardner today, who's one of our coaches and also a naturopath. And Kristine, thanks for being here to have a bit of a chat about your favourite topic.
You're welcome. It's lovely to be here, Mel.
Now, last week we were having a chat and you said, I wish people had stopped bloody dieting. So I'm really keen to explore that a bit more. Tell me what made you say that?
Yeah, I recall saying that. I think the thing is that I just see so many clients who go on this dieting roller coaster and feel really frustrated because they try the latest fad diet that comes along, or something that's been allocated to them from a health professional, and it doesn't work. So they just keep dieting and trying the next thing, and it doesn't work. And instead of losing weight, they gain weight. And it's really, really frustrating for me because I guess with the background I've got in nutrition and naturopathy and coaching, I know there's a better way to do it. And so it's really, really frustrating to see people continue to do the same thing. And it's not their fault. I don't mean to sound like, oh, they should know what they're doing, because there's just so much competing information out there. And I just find it frustrating that people can't just have a guide to what works for them.
Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about how these issues manifest for people, like when they're trying all these things and it's not working, and what sorts of things are happening to them. How are they feeling?
Yeah, look, I think, going on what my clients tend to say, it manifests in that people just feel so disempowered and frustrated. So, they think the next thing is going to work and then it doesn't. And then that just destroys their self-confidence, and they fall off the wagon, for want of a better term. So, and then they just eat whatever they want. They gain a few more pounds, and then they get to a pain point where they try the next thing and they just feel so dissatisfied with the whole cycle. So I think the frustration and disempowerment is the really big thing. And just this sense of not knowing what to do. So this helplessness and almost loneliness and isolation, because, sometimes they see it works for other people and it doesn't work for them. So they take it on board as meaning that they're a failure, when in fact it's not them being a failure. It's that everyone has their own needs and unique body and unique diet requirements, and you can't have a one size fits all package.
Okay, well, when you're talking about unique needs, what do you mean? Tell us a little bit more about how you work with people, or what that looks like, what the real answer is.
Yeah, sure. So I think I work with people differently, in different ways, depending on where they're at and what they want to achieve. But for the most part, I think it comes down to really looking at what a person's body type is and what their past successes have been with eating as well, and a bit around their history. Family history of eating can play all kinds of horrible games with a person's adult methods of eating. So I think it's delving a bit into the past and what's worked and what hasn't worked, but it's also looking specifically at what makes up their unique needs. So their lifestyle, their body, their shape, what cravings they have, what foods they like, what foods they don't like, what foods agree with them. So there's a lot of intel that people can get from their own knowledge about themselves. And even if they don't know at the start, through working in a coaching environment, you can soon bring that information out. And even if they haven't had that experience before, there's lots of tools we can use to uncover that information so that they have a really good working knowledge about what makes them tick, and what foods will work for them and how their body reacts to different kinds of foods. Because there is no one size fits all diet. And I think in order for a person to lose weight, and more importantly, sustain a healthy weight, they need to work out first and foremost what makes their body tick well, what makes their body work well, and the opposite of that, what makes it feel like crap. So that's where you've got to start. And this is why when I was having the rant with you last week, I was saying, I just wish people had stopped bloody dieting, because what they need to do is come back and look at what makes them tick and what works for them. Because Jane down the road might do one thing that's great for Jane, but you can bet your bottom dollar it's not going to be right for you, because you've got to find what works for you.
Mm-hmm. How do you know when things are working? Like, what sorts of signals do you get?
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. For instance, if somebody comes to me and their biggest problem is sugar cravings, then the way that you know it's working well once you've tapped into all those things that we've talked about before is the sugar cravings disappear. Now, there's a psychological element to the sugar cravings, an emotional element to it, but being able to distinguish between physical cravings and hunger is a first point in actually working out what your body's telling you. So a lot of people can't even distinguish or don't even realize that there's a difference between hunger and cravings. They just feel that need to eat a thing and then they eat it. Whereas if you're eating the right foods for your body type, then your body's going to send you very correct signals about what your body needs. So you're going to have less of those sugar cravings. Same deal if it's salty foods or fatty foods or, high, whatever it happens to be. It's balance. So your body starts to send you signals, and because you're aware of what you're eating and what you should be eating, you start to listen to those signals and trust those signals. Whereas when you're eating all out of balance, your body's all out of balance. It's very hard to trust those signals.
Okay, so food is really a big part of the remedy by the sound of it.
Food's huge. Yeah, food is a massive part of the remedy, and I think people grow up with a certain habit around food, that might have been implemented during their childhood, and they just go with the flow and think that's the way that I eat, that's the way I should eat. But the types of food that we've traditionally eaten may not be the foods that are great for us in adulthood. And as we get older and older in adulthood, the symptoms of eating incorrectly for your body type will start to manifest. So in our 20s, it mightn't be so bad. In our 30s, it gets a little worse. Hit your 40s, and you start to see all kinds of issues happening because of that lifetime of eating. So food is the answer, definitely the answer to a sustainable weight, a sustainably healthy weight, because, again, if you're eating the right foods for your body type, it's all just going to fall into place.
And I wanted to ask you about gut health, because I know this is a particular area of interest of yours.
Yeah.
How big of a role does gut health play in how well you feel and how you respond to food?
I just said food was huge, but now I'm going to say gut health is huge as well. So being a naturopath, gut is everything to me. So when I see clients in a coaching environment, I often will say that I'm just putting on my naturopath hat for a moment, if that's okay, and specifically to talk about gut health usually. So nutrition is a big area of interest for me. Gut health is the main area of interest out of that. And I think if people don't look at their gut health when they are changing their diet or implementing a healthy eating regime for their body type, it's kind of like doing half the equation and not working out the whole answer. So you need to establish good gut flora. I could segue from there and talk about hormonal health as well, which we probably don't have time to do today, but gut health is really, really important, as is hormonal health, and they flow into each other. So if you've got good gut health, that means that the flora in your gut is well balanced. You've got all the good types of good gut bacteria and not so much of the bad gut bacteria. And it's quite a simple thing to fix for most people. And again, there's no one size fits all answer there.
And I want to throw in, I know you've said that gut health is huge and food is huge, but I want to throw the other one in, which is stress. Now, that's definitely related to all of those things, right?
It is, yeah, and that tacks onto the segue that I was talking about before, so hormonal health. So stress is really important, and a lot of clients that we see do stress eat, and that's caused by a crazy lifestyle that most of us live these days. And stress can have a huge part on our cravings, on our ability to digest the foods properly, our ability to use those nutrients from the food effectively. So unless we do something about stress, and I want to segue into sleep here, but I'm not going to, but unless we do something about stress, then we're, again, not dealing with the whole problem. So, food, gut health, stress, sleep, hormones, they all fall into the same category of of taking care of your body and listening to what your body's telling you and looking at it from a holistic point of view. And that had to come into the conversation somewhere because I'm a naturopath, to look at things holistically. But effectively, look, what I do with my clients may be a little different to other people do, but I do look at their overall inner health as well as what's manifesting for them on a physical level. So some of the stuff that we do is really looking at what their gut health is doing, what their hormonal health is doing, what their stress levels are, and looking at which of those areas we need to change first in order for the others to flow on. And I know you talk a lot about cornerstone habits, and that's segueing into that now, but it all, I mean, it's all related, isn't it? It just falls into the same category.
And it makes so much sense. You know, we're talking about the fact that there is no one size fits all solution and that diets don't work. And I think it's because really from what you're saying, it's not just about diet. It's about how you interact with food, how your body interacts with food, the other impacts in your life that are affecting your body, like stress or sleep or hormonal issues, which could be caused by what you're eating or affected by what you're eating. And it's really a whole picture. You know, you're treating the whole person as a person and saying, what's the biochemistry and what's the psychology and how can we optimize that?
Definitely. You nailed it very succinctly there, Mel, much more succinctly. But that is, and that's it. It's a holistic approach to looking at everything that's going on with that individual person and dealing with them where they're at. So, you know, really helping them where they're at that moment. And that could change from week to week. As one thing balances out, we might look at, you know, another thing in more detail. But that's the fun of coaching, isn't it? Because, you know, every single session that you have with a client is different to the other, and you work with them where they're at that time.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, I always say, I wish we were all just robots. It'd be so easy. But it's kind of interesting to be on a journey. We all are in all at different stages of life and having to cope with the changes that life throws at you. It's an interesting journey and there's a lot to be learnt on the way. So thanks heaps for chatting to us today and for sharing your knowledge. And if people do want to get in contact with you, Kristine, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can get in touch with me via Downsize Me. So if they want to get in touch with me, they can do that through the portal, or they can get in touch with me through my own website, which is at melbournewellnesscoaching.com.au.
Awesome. Thanks heaps for today. I'll put some links in for this video for people watching if they want to contact you. And thanks again for your time. And hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
You're welcome. Lovely to be here. Thanks, Mel.
Thanks. Bye for now.
Bye.